Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica, aka Soul Tribe Mama. If you are new here, welcome. I hope you hit that subscribe button and stick around. If you are returning, I love you guys so much. Thank you for all the support, for following along on all of my crazy pregnancy, postpartum journeys, life journeys, and for building friendships and bonds and relationships with you guys. It really means a lot to me. Before we get too far into this video, I do want to say thank you, Dossier, for sponsoring today's video. I love them. If y'all have been around, you know I love Dossier perfumes. They are an amazing perfume company, y'all. You can go on their website and search any type of designer brand perfume, and they will give you their version of that designer brand perfume at the fraction of what you would normally pay for that. I am actually using the Fruity Jasmine today. I love this stuff. I have gone through so many of their perfumes and colognes. I actually need to get more because my husband and my sons love their cologne as well. I got 2 of them for them and they are obsessed and they're completely out. I'm almost out of mine as well, and I just love them. The price ranges, y'all, are amazing. They have a money back guarantee if you are just not satisfied with the scent, or if you want to exchange it for something different. They have unisex scents, they have men's cologne scents, they have women's perfumes. You can literally just look up any, you know, you like Dior, you like Tom Ford, and see what they have available. They're always putting newer scents out on their website. Y'all, like 1 to 2 spritz of this stuff and it lasts forever. It is amazing. My kids come home from school, from sweating at recess, and I can still smell their cologne when they come home. And not overwhelming, y'all, but I still can, and I love it. Now, this pregnancy, I do have a heightened sense of smell, but when it comes to perfumes and colognes, that kind of sense and like candles doesn't really bother me. I actually love them. So this is okay for me during this pregnancy. Now, I know there's a lot of mamas out there that when you get pregnant, you just cannot handle any kind of scent. It doesn't matter what it is. So obviously this wouldn't be for you right now, but these are great gifts now that we're going into the holiday season. If you're trying to find like a stocking stuffer, something for your man, something for your older boys, or even your daughter that's getting to that age that wants to wear perfume, definitely check out their website for your holiday needs. And thank you, Dossier Perfumes, for sponsoring today's video. As you have seen from the title, today's video is going to be about my postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, going from that straight into another pregnancy. If you haven't seen my, like, I guess you would call it my pregnancy announcement video, I talk a lot more and I'm very raw and open and honest and emotional with what I'm feeling at the time, and the pathway of feelings, emotions, thoughts that I had to go through to get to the point that I am now. So obviously now we are totally excited. We cannot wait to have this 5th baby. I still can't believe I'm having 5, even though part of me feels like I manifested it, and my husband will say the same because I've always said I wanted 5, and there's a lot of other little things that maybe I'll talk about this later on in another video, like separately or in a day in the life vlog. But I do believe that it was meant to be, and everything happens in God's perfect timing, and especially when we don't think that it's perfect timing. The worst possible time I thought I should ever, you know, add another child to our family was the perfect time in God's eyes. And that's how I'm gonna look at it, and that's how we look at it now, and we are so happy and excited. But it's also learning and lessons and just life journey, you know, our life, this journey that we're on called life on this earth, where we get to go through trials and tribulations, and we get to come out the other side and help others with that, teach our children, help ourselves become stronger and wiser. And when you're going through it, it's not really how you look at it until you've gotten through it, and then you can look back and go, oh, okay. I did want to talk about this because I have had a lot of requests on this video, but I already knew that I wanted to bring up this type of video anyways. Now that I've gone through it, literally like almost on camera, partially on and partially off because I took a break, it's even more so that I feel like I need to talk about it. And because it is so different, and every time can be so different, and then also that transition into another pregnancy when we thought we were probably not going to have any more kids, even though I wanted one more. I also knew like timing wasn't good, I wasn't ready mentally, so I thought this is it. And when you have that mindset and then you get surprised like this, it just was a lot. And I was already trying to heal my mind and my emotions and my mentality and my brain from going through depression and anxiety, and at such a high level that I'd never gone through before. That was just a huge shocker, because to be honest, y'all, I know a lot of comments are like, well, you know, surprises are always great. And I don't know if I've said this enough times in my videos or very much at all, but every single one of my pregnancies has been a surprise except for my second son. My second baby was planned because I knew that I wanted to have at least 2 children, not just a single child, and I knew that I wanted them to be no more than 2 to 3 years apart in age. So anywhere between there. And it actually took us a long time, well, in my mind, a long time. It took 8 to 9 months for me to get pregnant with my second, and I didn't understand why, because I was like, I was on birth control and I had a, you know, oopsie with my first, you know, like I shouldn't have gotten pregnant. There was a lot of medical reasons why I shouldn't have gotten pregnant. And then on top of that, I was on birth control and I still got pregnant with my first as a surprise. Surprises are not bad at all. They're an amazing thing. But because they're a surprise, you're not completely mentally ready for, you know, whether or not you will be pregnant and digesting that. And thank you to all of my mamas who have commented, which is pretty much majority of the comments on that video, that have said that everything that I felt was completely normal. I know that it's normal, and I hope from that video that other mamas that feel that way can understand that it's normal to have those feelings as well, and to not be ashamed of that, and to go through the roller coaster of emotions and thoughts that you have to go through to get to the point where you're clear-minded and you know what you should do, and not be afraid to state those feelings, because those are real things. And I just want to say thank you so much to all of you guys who just reiterated that. Literally every single one of you saying it is okay to go through these feelings. You have to feel this. You have to go through these things. You can't hide them. You can't bottle them up because it can make it worse. And I completely agree. And I just want to say thank you to all of you guys, because not only did you help me in feeling even more and more confident in what I said in that video and what I went through, but also to all the other moms who are feeling that same thing and are scared to talk about it. And not that you have to talk about it on social media, but maybe it's to your partner, maybe it's to your friend, maybe it's to your mom, whoever it may be. If it seems like my brain is like all over the place, it probably is. Number 1, because I'm pregnant, and number 2, because I'm a mom, and number 3, because that's just kind of how my brain works sometimes. So I hope that it's okay with you guys. Let's just go ahead and get started. So number 1, when I was going through postpartum depression and anxiety, the biggest thing that helps me, I guess, get started on my journey to healing was this company called triminded.com. And you pay a $60 fee unless it's changed, but I'm pretty sure it's $60 a month. You don't need to have insurance to use them. They are licensed to be able to prescribe you medication. They send in the medication to your pharmacy of your choosing. Now, if you have insurance, obviously when you go pick up your medication, you can use your insurance. If you don't, GoodRx is a good option. But they can prescribe you antidepressants and anxiety medication. And we did this because when I needed to get on it, I don't think our insurance had kicked in yet. And so I was like, well, I don't want to go spend like hundreds of dollars and get all these tests run and stuff. Like, I've had depression, I've had postpartum, I've had anxiety before. I know what I've been prescribed before, which definitely helps on this website. They will ask you like, what brands have you had before? What milligrams have you had before? It's just because it gives them an idea. I mean, you know, if you go to any doctor, in-house doctor, and it's somebody that you haven't gone to before, they're going to want to know your history. They're going to want to know what you took before. How did it work? How did you feel? How do you feel now? You know, all of those things. So you do set up an appointment. They send you a notification to get on a Zoom call for that time and day. It takes about 30 minutes the first time, and then after that, every month you would get a new appointment, and it's about 10 to 15 minutes unless things have changed. But I absolutely loved them. Now, don't pay me to talk about them. They probably don't even know who I am, but they definitely helped me to be able to be, I feel like as a mom, you don't have time to just up and go to a doctor's appointment and get tests run, and who's going to watch the kids, and what if you only have one car and you can't get there? Like, there's so many things. You don't want to pay for an Uber, who knows? Okay, to me this was so convenient. It was worth it. The medication, even without insurance, was not very expensive at all. So to me, the $60 plus what the medication cost was completely worth it every month. And whenever I would talk to them, they were very attentive. They don't treat you like a number. They don't make you just like, okay, here you go, here you go. They ask you questions. They want to make sure that things are working. If it wasn't working, if I felt a certain way, they would change it. They would change the dosage. They would change it to something else. I mean, it was all kinds of stuff. They would say, hey, instead of in 4 weeks, can we schedule an appointment in 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Because I really want to check on you. to me, it was completely worth it. So I love them. And if you need an alternative to like going to a doctor, now if you already have, you know, a counselor, psychologist, a family doctor, then keep going there. You know, you don't have to do these things. I'm just giving out a different option for you guys that if you're busy a lot, or if you're just home, you just can't get out of the house, or really, to be honest, when you're going through depression, you just don't want to leave. You don't want to have to get dressed and go get in the car. I mean, y'all, I looked a hot mess in my PJs, my hair up in a crazy bun and no makeup, looking like I'd been crying for 5 days straight on a Zoom call with them. So, and they don't, you know, they try their hardest to lift your spirits up, but they don't judge you. That's what they're there for, to help. So I definitely got on that. That helped get my medication started, my anxiety medication, my antidepressant medication, get everything to start kicking in, because it does take a while. And because I waited so long, I feel like it took me longer for my medication to kick in and for me to hit my sweet spot of milligrams that I needed personally to, you know, help me get out of where I was at. Had I not waited, it probably wouldn't have taken as long. Now it still could take, you know, a month, 2 months, 3 months. It just depends on how your body is working, what milligrams you're at, how quickly they up the dosage, because they can't just like out of nowhere give you 300 milligrams, because you could have like the opposites effects. Like there's so many variations, y'all, it's ridiculous. Now I still completely agree with, when you deal with postpartum depression and anxiety, it has to do with your hormones. So hormone medication and hormone checking is not covered under insurance, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But if you have the money to put towards it, definitely get your hormones checked, get like a full panel done, go to a doctor that specializes in this, and then they can send you a compounding medication to a compounding pharmacy to pick up, specifically made just for you and your body type and the actual hormone levels that you need to, you know, up to level out your body. Because to me personally, that is the problem. It's not, and I'm not saying antidepressants and anxiety medication doesn't work and that it's not helpful in the moment, but it's not a fix-all. The whole point is you're taking the antidepressant and the anxiety medication to help you manage your life until your body and your hormones can get regulated. Does that make sense? That's how I look at it. Now again, y'all, disclaimer, I am not a doctor, I am not a scientist, I don't do tests on this stuff. I am just a mama who's gone through things, and I have had other issues hormonally, and have had medications and blood work done, and so I've done my research, and that is what I believe. Now, that is also my opinion. I could be completely wrong. I could, you know, don't take my word for it. So, but I do think that if that is feasible for you, definitely go that route first. And then, you know, you can still get on your antidepressants and everything else that you need while you're waiting on that, or while you're waiting for that medication to kick in as well. Like, who knows? Try to find something that works for you. The next thing is counseling. I believe in counseling 100%. I started counseling when I was like 15 or 16 years old from depression. I've had depression on and off my whole life. I have been to counseling and I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing, whether you have issues that you need to work through or not, whether you just need somebody to check in with you, and that's non-biased. It's not family, not friends, somebody you can tell things to and not have to worry about judgment, and who can probably give you better advice than anybody else would. So I definitely believe in counseling. I ended up going to counseling through my church, and I did like that because it seemed a little bit even more personal. Like, I didn't have to wait for an appointment if I really needed to say something, or if I was having an issue. She would text me or I could text her. That part I definitely loved. And to me, counseling is just so beneficial, y'all. Like, again, you don't need to go to counseling just for issues in your marriage, in your relationships, in your family, you know, postpartum, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. Like, you do not need to go to counseling just for that. Yes, it helps with that, but really, I feel like every single person on this planet Earth should be going to counseling like once a month, just for life in general. You know, stresses, day-to-day life, somewhere you can throw your thoughts at. One thing my counselor did say, she was like, what is the one thing that you feel like is your coping mechanism that you do? And again, this doesn't mean that it's a bad thing or that it's unhealthy. And I said, well, I like to flee, which fleeing sounds horrible, right? But a lot of the things is that when I'm going through that, my brain feels so overloaded that I cannot comprehend, I cannot think, I cannot add any more brain power work to my brain. or I will feel like I'm on overload and I will completely shut down if I'm not already to that point. So for me, when I get to that point where I feel like, okay, something is like pushing me over the edge, I'm feeling more and more depressed, or I'm feeling anxious, or really the biggest one for me that gets triggered when I'm going through depression and anxiety is I start to feel claustrophobic when I probably shouldn't be, because I'm not like in a small box, I'm not in a small room. When I start feeling that feeling, I just want to like run away. And when I say run away, I don't mean like run away forever and never come back. You know, in the moment it might feel like that, but that's not really the truth. It's just getting away from, you know, almost like that phrase, out of sight, out of mind, which is why I say it's not completely healthy. It's not a bad thing, but it's not completely healthy. Because to think that, you know, running away from your problem is going to fix it is not the right thought. If you know, okay, I need to walk away, I need to go for a walk by myself in the neighborhood, I need to go, which I drive to my dad's gravesite a lot, and I just lay a blanket down and I lay under the tree next to him and just chill there. Whether I talk to him, I pray, I don't do anything but listen to music, I cry, whatever I have to do to almost like decompress, like just let my brain become mush almost and let go of everything so that I can come back to what I just came from and be better and not be overloaded with depression and anxiety and all these thoughts and my brain not being able to work. And then if I don't do that, I always feel like I'll end up blowing up at somebody and making my problems worse, making it worse for the people around me that I love the most. For me, that is what works, but to an extent. It was just, I needed immediate escape from my own brain and my own body. Like I felt like I was a slave to myself and I couldn't handle it anymore. And I was claustrophobic because I felt like I was in a prison in my brain, if that makes, I don't even know, y'all, like it's just crazy. So being able to go for a little bit and just not think of anything and just like let it all go and not have somebody on top of me like asking me question, oh, are you okay? That would just make me get higher and higher on that level. Then I could decompress, come back, and hopefully try again. That doesn't mean that it worked every time and that I was good when I came back, but over time with the medication and all the other things, the counseling, and then that definitely I think helped. Of course, the people around you help. I will be completely grateful forever and ever and ever for my friends, my husband, my family that stuck by me, that constantly, I mean, shoot guys, y'all, I wasn't even on here, but I would get messages randomly here and there, people that were constantly just implanting positive and uplifting words and phrases. And what that was doing at the time, none of it was registering in my mind, but what it was doing is it was building up. And as I was getting better and my brain was becoming less foggy, those things were like getting played on like a record, like on a loop in my brain. And so it was replacing the thoughts that I had on a loop, which was, you suck, you're a horrible mom, you're a horrible wife, you can't do anything right, you shouldn't be here, they deserve better, to, you know, you are loved, you're forgiven, you're cared about, you're strong. Like all of those things were replacing what I was thinking, and they were helping me move forward. And so I will always be completely grateful to my friends that stuck by my side, even with all the crap I put them through, that they went through trying to be there for me, and my husband, and just really, you know, trying their hardest to be good friends, and for my husband to be the best husband he could be, and, you know, take those vows very seriously when it says for better, for worse, you know, and trying everything to make sure that I felt that I could get through it and that I wasn't alone. And not that I wasn't alone with what I felt, but that I wasn't alone, that I didn't have anybody to lean on. I just wanted to say that. Okay, I do want to kind of bring up, which I feel like this kind of sounds very weird to say, but I don't know how else to say it. So it's almost like pros and cons of having postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety and then going straight into like a surprise pregnancy. And again, this is just my opinion. This is just what I have experienced this 5th time around, because again, y'all, when I went through postpartum depression and anxiety with my first child, he was already over a year old when this hit me. I didn't get any of this stuff until he was already a year old. It wasn't the newborn stage. It wasn't like the baby blues. It was later on. And then on top of that with him, I had suicidal thoughts of myself, like not hurting my child, but for me. And I had panic attacks. Whereas this time around, I had like 24/7 anxiety. I never got like a panic attack where it like revved up and then came down, or like my heart rate, which my heart rate did feel like it was just ongoing high and beating fast. I couldn't breathe all day long, but I would literally wake up in the morning with like hand tremors. My hands wouldn't stop shaking all day, and I would feel just this ongoing anxious feeling instead of just having, you know, during the day like panic attacks, which I'm not saying one is better than the other, they both suck. And then the depression side, I just felt like I wasn't good enough. The depression side really kicked in with, you know, having no energy. I was losing weight. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I had no muscle to pick my kids up. I had no motivation. I wanted to sleep. I also felt like just exhausted. Like I wanted to take myself to the hospital and just admit myself. And thankfully this time around I didn't have suicidal thoughts. I didn't have thoughts of hurting myself or my kids at all. If anything, it was just, I just felt like they deserved a better mom at that time. I just felt like I wasn't doing what my full potential as a mom that I should have been. The mental part was a very, very big factor. And maybe that's why the anxiety was the way it was. I don't know. But you can get it in so many different variations, y'all. Like, sometimes you only have depression, sometimes you only have anxiety, sometimes you have both together, sometimes it's suicidal, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's panic attacks, sometimes it's not, it's this way. There are so many different things that can happen, so don't ever feel like, well, I can't relate, so maybe mine's not postpartum depression. Like, please make sure that you go get diagnosed. Obviously, don't just take whatever we say here on YouTube and go, yep, that's what I got. You know, it's like going on WebMD. People are like, you're dying tomorrow for a cut on your leg. Like, no, obviously, make sure you do your own research, go to your OB, go to a doctor, get your blood work done, get all this stuff done. But just know that this is very, very common, and it is not talked about enough, and there's not enough research, and there's not enough options for us as mamas. And especially when it comes to having a baby and we get a 6-week appointment. Like I said, both of mine, postpartum depressions and anxieties, didn't happen until my first one was over a year old, like a year and a month, and with Knox, it didn't happen until he was 9 months old. My kids are playing outside and they're like right outside the window, so they're gonna be a little loud. But anyways, so for me, for example, going from that to this pregnancy, if you take away the first, like, you know, shocker, first 2-3 weeks shocker of finding out you're pregnant, and the way that y'all saw in that video with me of me processing all those feelings and emotions, because I'm just now starting to feel like less foggy, starting to feel like myself, like my body and my mind are my own again. And then I'm going into this. And a lot of times my first trimester, which is also very common, is we go through the baby blues, which is what I call it in the first trimester. And really it's just because a lot of people don't tell everybody. You're kind of like suffering in silence with morning sickness, with pain, with tiredness, because the first trimester you exhausted making a baby in there, and just all of those things. So you get kind of depressed, a little depressed here and there. I knew I was already going through this. Like, what if I go into the first trimester and it makes me go 10 steps backwards? Like I can't do this. Like, that was what scared me. Once the 3-week mark, 2 to 3 weeks mark ended of the shock, and I finally processed everything, and I started getting happier about it and being understanding of my own situation, and letting myself enjoy being pregnant, because I've always loved being pregnant. I love it. And knowing that I love it, you know, letting myself get back to that me, you know, and getting to enjoy this journey. I would say I feel like getting pregnant helped me heal quicker from my postpartum depression and anxiety, because when you get pregnant, your body gets rushed with extra hormones. So the hormones that we carry as women, and then you get pregnant, your body has to make, just like it makes double and triple the blood flow for the baby, it has to make double and triple the hormones to go to the baby and for yourself as you're growing, and what you need, and then what the baby needs as well. And I remember hitting that, you know, 2 to 3 week mark, feeling like I'm finally able to enjoy this. And then on top of that, feeling like this rush of just not only the peace that I felt, but also just feeling completely me and not having any of those other things happening. And I swear, y'all, like, it didn't hit me then until recently. Me and my husband were talking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes complete sense. And he even said, he was like, well, I actually looked it up because that's what I thought, but I didn't want to say anything to you. And he's like, but I looked it up and it says that, you know, your body gets rushed with all these hormones, and that could have helped level you out. Whatever levels you were low in, that made you go through that depression and postpartum anxiety started leveling out because of the hormones your body was getting and producing more of for the baby. And I was like, that literally makes complete sense. So for me personally, this time around, I feel like getting pregnant, which I'm not trying to say this like, hey, it's a cure for your PPD, get pregnant again. That is not the case, y'all. I'm just saying that if you're in the same situation as me, this could be a possibility in your case. Now, it could go the opposite. Who knows, guys? Again, please don't come at me with the, don't promote, you know, false whatever. Like, I'm not trying to promote anything. I'm just telling you guys my side, and do what you will with this information. But I do think that it helped me personally. I was already feeling like myself, like I was probably halfway there. And then when I got pregnant and the hormones hit me and all those things happened, and you know, 3-4 weeks later, then I was like 100%, where I felt like had I not gotten pregnant and I was still on my medication, it may have taken me like 3 or 4 months later to get completely 100% me. And getting pregnant, I feel like it only took like 3 or 4 weeks instead of months. So again, I'm not a doctor. I didn't get any tests run on this to have like this facts to show you guys. I'm just telling you guys what I feel and what I think. Obviously, like I just mentioned, the con would be the opposite effect, because that's what I was deathly afraid of, was 2 things. I'm pregnant now, I'm not completely healed, and this whole scenario right now is making me cry and making me feel crazy and depressed and anxious, and I don't know what to do. So how am I going to get rid of that and not go backwards 10 steps and get worse in my depression? Because I'm going to go through my first trimester and deal with depression symptoms when it's, you know, don't want to get out of bed, I've got kids to take care of, and like just life. So that is a possibility, y'all. That's why I say, you know, don't just take, you know, my thing for it. Like, that's what happened to me this time. It could have not happened. I don't know. And not only that, the second part to that is the fear of going through this whole scenario again after having another baby. And I know that that is a very, very big and very real and normal fear to have. If you have gone through postpartum depression before, you don't ever want to be back there again. If you've gone through depression, you have a glimpse of what it's like, because I have gone through depression. So when I was going through postpartum, I remember thinking, this is kind of like what I felt before with my depression, but like times 100. Because I kept thinking like, but why is it so much more intense? Like, why is it so crazy? I thought it was bad before. This is really, really bad. And again, y'all, I'm not trying to minimize anybody's depression journey or anxiety journey not being pregnant and not going through postpartum. It's not a competition. Nobody wants to do either of these, okay? We don't want any of that stuff at all. But I will just say that the postpartum side, which is why I feel like it is, especially in women, it is a very big thing that has to do with our hormones being so, you know, out of whack, that can cause it to be so much more intense feeling, and can cause it to last longer than what we would hope for, or what we could possibly fix with hormone medication instead of, you know, just antidepressant or anxiety meds. But it is a very big fear that you will go through it again after having another baby. And now I will just say, my statistics alone, I've had 4 kids so far, and I've had it twice. So 50-50 chance so far. So this time around, I have a big feeling I probably won't have it. And maybe that's just me putting that in my own brain and putting that out there and manifesting that, you know, putting the positive vibes out there that I'm gonna have this baby and I'm not gonna go through it ever again. But then again, that's also just, you know, it could happen. It could happen. And so I do know that this time around, I've already talked to my husband, and I'm gonna talk to my OB and my doctor and just say, look, can we have a plan set in place already so that I know my options? Like, the minute I have this baby, even if I don't have complete postpartum depression symptoms, like, what can I do? Can we, like, when can I test my hormones? When can I get on something if I need to? Should I have something readily available in case this happens? You know, like, all of those things. I have all the questions written to ask my doctor, to kind of like have some kind of a game plan, so that if I feel certain feelings or thoughts or whatever, that I can call her and be like, okay, it's happening. Can you please, you know, let's put that plan in motion. And thankfully, my OB has given birth to all of my babies. She's delivered all of my babies, and she's been with me that whole time, so she knows me very well, and my other issues that I've had, and my uterus and all of this, even before I had my first child, you know, thinking we couldn't even have kids, and her trying to help me figure that out, to we got pregnant on birth control. Because I see you guys in the comments on that video. You know how babies are made. Maybe you should have used protection. Maybe you should have been on birth control. It's like, do you know how many people, how common it is for women to get pregnant on birth control? And how like protection sometimes doesn't always work? It does happen. So anyways, y'all, like, I know most of y'all have probably already gone through this, which is really sad that it's this common and we don't have enough info on it. But there are a few of you out there that haven't yet, and that are just wanting to know, like wanting to know the good and the bad and wanting to be prepared. You know, it's not to deter anybody from having a baby. This should not be the reason why you don't want to get pregnant and you don't want to have a baby, is because you're terrified of this. At least we have a lot of things that we can look into ourselves and that we can ask our doctors about to try to help us. So please don't ever, because babies are miracles. And to be honest, if it's meant to be, God is going to give you that baby. And it's probably going to be when you least expect it and when you weren't ready at all. So just know that. I hope this helped anybody out in any way, shape, or form. I know that most of this video is about my personal journey, my opinions, and all of those things. Again, I don't expect anybody to take everything I say and run with it. You should always consult your own doctor. You should always get your own, you know, opinion on things and research and all of those things. But I do always hope that whatever I'm going through, if I talk about it, it helps any of you guys out. And of course, I love hearing y'all's stories too, because y'all have helped me even without you knowing. I just want to say thank you guys so much. I love y'all. Thank you for sticking it out with me here on my YouTube channel. I love being back. I'm trying to get back on my schedule. I'm loving making all this content, especially pregnancy content, because y'all know I love being pregnant and you know I love this stuff. So I got a ton of things lined up and ready to go. And of course it is the holidays coming up too, so that's even better, because pregnancy, holidays mixed together is like the best thing in the world for me personally. Those are my two favorite things. So don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys on my next one.